Okay, the next question here is from this guy that I know. His name is JD Duran.
Interesting.
Anyway, his question here is for Jay. What did you think about the trailer for The Flash?
It is truly wild that people are now just like, yes, Ezra Miller back as the Flash. Incredible. Finally, the people have demanded it. It is, it was, there were some decent trailers during the Super Bowl, but I would not say The Flash was one of them. It really did. Oh, the glasses are coming off again.
Oh, here we go.
It was, here we go. If you want to talk about a movie kind of leaning into the worst tendencies of, I think, franchise filmmaking today, that seemed to be the vibe I was getting from The Flash. As great, I mean, look, the money shot, obviously, is Michael Keaton coming back and saying, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
And that made me queasy. I did not like that at all. You want to talk about cheap tactics? My, oh my. I mean,
do we think that's just for the trailer, though?
The line itself or him in the movie? The
line itself.
The line was brutal. Oh man, it might. Honestly, I hope so. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I love Michael Keaton too, but I saw him show up, and it was bleak. It was a bleak moment. I don't know. Obviously, the DCEU or whatever they call it is in this really weird spot right now. We talked about it on last week's show.
Yeah.
It feels like this is just a leftover movie, right? I mean, it's like we're not going to get another Ezra Miller Flash movie. This is the last one. This is the first and last one. And they had it in the can before all of his nonsense started happening. And so they have to release it. They're clearly grasping at straws a little bit at this point. Which
Jay, they don't have to release it. They canned a whole damn Batgirl movie.
Well, they did. I mean, they can write it off, basically. They're like, well, they give us back $225 million on our taxes because we lost so much money on this movie. That Batgirl thing is really weird. That hasn't really been. There needs to be some sort of oral history of that whole situation at some point. That was weird.
A whole, not just a whole, a finished movie. It was done.
They were like, and then at the press conference, they're like, it wasn't. The quality was not up to stuff. And I'm like, you guys really Suicide Squad.
I was gonna say, I don't buy that. When you look at the totality of the DCEU, quality not necessarily their priority.
Which one was the Suicide Squad was the James Gunn one, right?
Yeah.
And Suicide Squad was the old one. Yeah.
Which
Suicide Squad, the original.
Yeah,
garbage.
I love the irony. We didn't talk about this last week because we didn't have time, but I love the irony that they make a Suicide Squad movie and they hire a director that is nothing like James Gunn to do that movie. And he makes it the way he wants to make it. But the trailer that comes out is very James Gunn-esque. So they have to recut that whole movie because we have to remember the year before the Guardians of the Galaxy comes out and it takes the world by storm. It does very, very well. So they recut that movie to capture that Guardians of the Galaxy magic.
Yeah.
It clearly does not work. And all these years later, who did they hire to make the sequel or remake or whatever you want to call it? The guy that directed the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Still waiting for the Ayer cut. I know there's a great movie in there. Absolutely
Might
not.
be.
That was brutal. No. Oof. That one was so far away from being any good whatsoever.
But to be fair to Ayer, that film was nothing. I believe him. I don't think that film was anything the way, because it doesn't have the Ayer ethos at all, at all. And it's not just Ayer saying these things. All the actors have said this. Producers have confirmed this as well. But
it is
nothing
like
the way
just
it was made.
his whole idea behind that movie, making it so grim, and I mean, you see his Joker, and I'm like, well, yeah, there's no way this was ever going to be good. Obviously, If this is what he thinks the Joker should be, yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I mean, why hire him? Like, it's not as if his previous.
Oh, it's a
work
horrible, because they were trying to do the anti-Marvel thing. It's like, well, who's the, who can we get? Snyder, Ayer, yeah. Who doesn't make any sense at all to make these movies?
Yeah.
Oh, David Ayer. Yeah, of course.
Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting little irony. And now James Gunn is heading all of this. For a little bit of a different perspective, I didn't hate the trailer to The Flash as Jay did. But you do make a good point regarding Ezra Miller. However, I'm a big believer that when it comes to these polarized extremes, very few things end there. Most of life generally is in the middle, is in this gray area. And I'm a believer that two things can be true at once. And Ezra Miller should have been fired a long time ago. They probably have only kept him around because this movie was coming out and they still need him technically.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
On the log sheet. And he's problematic. There's absolutely no denying that. However, I do think everything else around him can still be good. And I do think there are some interesting things to the trailer around Ezra Miller. Michael Keaton certainly being one of them. The line "I'm Batman" is certainly tacky. I firmly believe that is only there for the trailer to hype up people that he's in this movie. I don't believe for a second that he's going to say that in the actual movie. And then we know Batfleck is coming back for a little bit of this as well. Someone made a great point on Twitter earlier today that Michael Shannon might not know that he's in The Flash, which just feels so true to me. Like, I wouldn't deny that for a second. But to have him back in this universe is compelling to me. He's one of the best things about Man of Steel. So, in terms of resetting the DCEU, this, I think, has promise. And maybe my perspective is also this. They announced this film in 2014. It has been almost 10 years since they announced that this movie was coming out. It has
that is so insane.
Been in production hell for years, for a long time. Now, not necessarily because of the film itself, but the larger DCEU.
Just the dysfunction of the DCEU.
Absolutely. Yeah. But as a result, this film has been pushed back, such as Black Adam, because Black Adam was also talked about in 2014, and we got that last year. And if that film is any indication, then perhaps The Flash is still not going to be great. But I'll say this, the trailer, to me, with all of that in mind, didn't feel like a complete dumpster fire. And that's what I was anticipating. And I do think there's some promise here. I'm also trying to be a little bit hopeful because I've been mostly positive when it comes to Marvel. The DC films haven't really worked for me all that much. Although I did like the Zack Snyder version of Justice League that was dropped on Netflix or whatever that was.
HBO Max.
HBO Max. Yeah, there we go. That makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think of HBO Max. I did like that. But aside from that, the DC films haven't worked for me. So I'm also trying to grasp onto whatever hope I can. And it does feel, I do feel conflicted that it comes from the Ezra Miller movie, because I don't condone him or his actions or anything that he's done. I don't necessarily want to support him, but the film itself, if we're separating, the problem child from the film itself, is there potential there for the movie as a standalone movie to be effective? I do. I do think, certainly pandering for sure, bringing back all of these Batmans, and they're trying to do what Marvel did with the last Spider-Man movie and all of the fun from that. I do think there's promise here. It doesn't look like a dumpster fire. The final product very well still may be bad, and I wouldn't be too surprised if that's the case. But as a trailer, I think they did a good job of hiding whatever faults it has and pandering to, the geekdom that that people will that they're craving for when it comes to that specific material. So I liked it way more than I anticipated. I was expecting a lot worse.
As far as the Ezra Miller pushback is concerned, you don't have to explain yourself for me. I'm the guy last week who was like, Mel Gibson, ooh baby.
We praised him. Yeah, we talked
Woohoo!
about it. Yeah, look,
we love Big Melly.
And again, very problematic. I just think two things can be true, and the film. Can
Oh
be
yeah,
good,
for sure.
and
for
he
sure.
can still be.
That's
awful.
not why I think. That's not why I have problems with the trailer. I
know.
The problem with the movie too is just it's an afterthought. We know this movie is going straight into the incinerator. This is something they're only releasing because they already had it made. So
Well,
it's
think
a very
gonna be
weird.
twofold. Well, they already have it made, but also, and this is the real reason they need this film and they can't Batgirl this movie, is that James Gunn is needing to reset the DCEU, as we talked about last week.
Oh, so is this going to be like the canonical reset?
Yes, from a functional, pragmatic perspective, at least within the rules of superhero movies and how they work. This film will function
multiverse.
as it'll restart the timeline, so it'll give them a reason, much as what Marvel is going to be able to do with their multiverse saga, and maybe bringing back old characters that have maybe died off or have phased out. You can bring them back because it's a different world. We're in a different part of the multiverse. This is going to be DC's version of that. So it'll allow them to reset and for James Gunn to move forward with the way he wants things to look. So that's the real reason this movie's coming out more than anything else. And to your point, after it's out, is Ezra Miller done? Wouldn't surprise me.
Probably. Did I miss the movie where Fast and Furious established the multiverse so that they can bring back every character as well?
I think so, yeah.
I must have. Okay.
So what I love about Fast and Furious is they said, look, we don't need rules. We don't need a we're just going to bring back
physics
from the dead.
Out. Mortality out. Biology out.
Like, we don't care. We don't. Yeah, screw the rules. We're just going to jump over. We're going to fly over them. Yeah, once Vin Diesel flew like Superman in the 5th movie, it was a different ball game after that. Those movies were.
Yeah. Yeah. God. Fast 10 coming soon.